Neurips 2025 paper discussion, Sombrel, Scalable and Optimistic Model-Based Reinforcement Learning. This is a paper out of Berkeley and ETH Zurich. Pieter Abbeel's on it. That's why I chose it. I think the problem it's solving is pretty interesting. It's solving the sparse reward problem in model-based reinforcement learning. So you have a robot that needs to plug in, let's say, an electric into an electric outlet, and it has never seen the plug before. It has never actually done this task in this particular room. It's model-based, so it has a certain world model that it can iterate against before it makes choices. And the solution that the authors propose is an uncertainty-aware solution. So the key is the following. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to say, look, there is two types of uncertainty. There's the epistemic uncertainty, and there's the other uncertainty. I forgot the word. Epistemic just means that if we had more data, we would know more. The other is no matter how much data we have, we just can't understand. Let's say we still don't understand the actual dynamics of particle physics. No matter how much data we have, we need better models, better knowledge. Versus in terms of plugging an electric into an electric outlet, that is not a fundamental knowledge problem. That is an epistemic problem. In other words, if I had more data, if I had perfect understanding of the environment where I am, I could plug in that thing, no problem. So that's epistemic uncertainty. What the authors are doing is offering a solution to model-based RL where we have exploration baked in. I think exploration versus exploitation, it's the big problem in RL, not just in RL, by the way. I think it's a big problem in the world, in AI, or intelligence in general. If you're a human, you have the same problem, right? How much exploration do I do, and do I stay greedy? For example, if I get good grades in math, do I just keep studying math and keep doing that, or maybe I want to change my trajectory and do something else? And the question then, of course, is what's my goal, and how do I maximize my value relative to my goal over all the epochs in this particular case, let's say my career, versus just having always, okay, I get good grades in math, let me just keep studying math, and then I graduate and I get a PhD in math, and then at some point I'm like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Well, because you were good at it. This is a philosophical question. I find it very fascinating. Having been trained as an economist, particularly inspired by people like Gary Becker at the University of Chicago, where I was fortunate enough to study while he was still there, although he was emeritus, but still he was giving lectures. So anyway, long story short, he would say things like, well, you just stick with the market, right? You follow the market signal, you follow what, and just keep doing that. And you could say that's a greedy method in model-based RL. That just means that given the world model I have, and I get good signals in doing strategy A, I keep doing strategy A until I get not such a good signal. Now, that's one way to do RL, but of course we have this problem in the real world, which is I might actually be on the wrong path. The famous example is, of course, the turkey that gets really good signals all year long, and then come Thanksgiving gets a really bad signal. So you want to be, you don't want to, I mean, greedy action is not the best solution. Now, the authors are very explicit about this, right? In a high signal model, you can actually have greedy action because you have a lot of counterfactuals, right? This is Sergey Levin said that recently on the podcast, and I think, look, it's all about counterfactuals. If you have a lot of counterfactuals, in other words, if your world is such that you will get enough options to make choices between this or that, and real good choices that actually give you signal, then you can have greedy action. In other words, if my choices of studying math are also accompanied with, let's say, once a week there's a seminar where people come from industry and continuously tell me that math alone might not be enough unless you really want to just do, I don't know, X. Maybe you want to also throw in some engineering stuff, because if you really want to do I don't know, if your dream is to work for SpaceX, you need to have understanding of no. So you calibrate your model, right? So you can stay greedy, but you can also okay, if I just study math, even though that is giving me the best grades right now, my end goal, which is working for SpaceX, actually will not be achieved. So maybe I want to do something else. But if my reward signal is sparse, in other words, if I just stay in the ivory tower for 8 years or 12 years, and then all of a sudden I come out, and then I'm like, oops, screw that, I forgot, I should have done this and that. So anyway, so this model that the authors are suggesting is particularly useful in a setting where there is sparse rewards. So this is the canonical, let's say the robot has to plug in the electric car in the desert somewhere in Nevada, and it's never seen that before. It's never, let's say in the future, a self-driving Tesla has to plug in itself to charge itself, and it's just never seen this setting before. It's a very weird setting. So how do you train a model that can efficiently get a solution? Well, how about you actually run, and it's model based, so it has a world model, it's seen worlds before, and it maximizes trajectories with high epistemic uncertainty. So trajectories that it knows that, okay, this particular choice, this counterfactual, I'm not so sure about. And the reason I'm not so sure about it is because if I had more data, I'd be more sure about it. But I'm not so sure about it because it's epistemic. So how about I gather more data? How about I try to understand what's going on? Now, the question here is, okay, how do you even know you have high epistemic uncertainty? And this is not so clear to me. The link's in the paper, so for the technical people, read the technical side. This is not a technical podcast here, so I'm not going to go into the technique. I think I want to keep it big picture. So let's assume you can find out a way statistically to distinguish between I think it's called aleatoric uncertainty and epistemic uncertainty. So in other words, if I know trajectory A versus B, B is more uncertain, and it's only uncertain, it's highly likely uncertain just because I don't have more data, so I'm going to choose B. So this is an optimization solution to a fundamental problem, and the reason I think I've seen this is a couple of papers now that what they're trying to do is optimize against uncertainty. That's important. So you don't just want to randomly try this and that. You want to have a little bit more constraint, and the constraint here is against epistemic uncertainty. So to summarize, this paper offers a solution for model-based RL, which is, like I said before, one of the key sort of focuses we had on Neurips 2025, model-based learning, world models. And in this case, we have a good idea or an approach that offers an answer to the question, how can I navigate in a sparse reward model and explore efficiently, not randomly, efficiently, find trajectories where it's more likely that more data, more counterfactuals, more answers to the question, should I do this or that, will give me a better solution to pursue my end goal. Thank you.